Welcome to the Mind of Basketball Podcast, also known as M.O.B Podcast, episode 66. I'm Evan.
I'm Ja.
And this is our basketball podcast. We recap, break down, and analyze players and teams from previous games from the previous day. How are you this Tuesday afternoon, Ja?
I'm chilling. Yes, sir.
That's good to hear. I'm chilling as well. I hope everyone will have a good day. I hope everyone will have a good day. Much to discuss around the association from last night's set of games, so let's just jump right into it. First, starting off with the Pelicans going up against the record best in the NBA, Utah Jazz. And this was a really, really fun and good game from both perspectives. The Jazz came out to play. Pelicans came out with a lot of energy. Zion really had a great game. Brandon Ingram as well. As for the Jazz, Donovan Mitchell doing his thing. Bogdanovich shooting like crazy, like he's been doing his whole career. And Gobert, he had a good game as well. Then the tide kind of turned in that third quarter where the Pelicans went on a big run, separating themselves from the Jazz, surprisingly. Usually it's the Jazz that makes those runs this season. But the Pelicans made that run led by Zion, who brought the intensity, the energy that he always does in each game. Then the fourth quarter hit, and like we both say, you cannot count out the Jazz.
Yep.
And the Jazz were down in that fourth quarter. And Pelicans, the Jazz started clamping up defensively, tighten up on the defensive side of the ball. They started hitting their shots. Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal, Bogdanovich. And the next thing you know, after a rebound, I believe, and kick out to Royce O'Neal, the Jazz are down by 1. After being down by like double digits. And down by 1, they have a chance to take the lead. Donovan Mitchell takes a tough layup, misses. Rudy Gobert has a chance to tip it in. He misses. But even then, Pelicans got the ball back. They fouled. Well, actually, no, there was a over the back call on Rudy Gobert over Zion. So Zion hit both his free throws, and they were down by 3. They still had a chance. Mike Conley with a tough 3-point shot with 15 seconds to go. They still had another timeout. I didn't really like that, but took the 3. They missed. As a result, an easy bucket down the court for Josh Hart. And in the end, it was the Pelicans getting the upset victory on this Jazz, surviving the Jazz comeback attempt. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, great game from both sides, but I always tell you, whenever you talk about that, the most important quarter of the game is before it used to be mainly in general. You always used to think it's the fourth quarter, but of course it has changed to the third quarter. And the team that won the game had a dominant third quarter run. And even though they was about to let the game slip away down the stretch in the fourth quarter, they was able to still man up and got lucky a little bit with the mistakes that the Jazz were making. And as a result, they were able to take this game. The third quarter is one of the most important quarters. Is the most important quarter, and the Pelicans was able to take advantage from that point. Just like what you said, Zion came down. He was the main reason to why. And JJ Redick hit some. I think he had 2 big shots in which he got fouled on too.
Well, yeah, that's one of the greatest shooters of all time.
Yeah, it was just a great quarter by the Pelicans. They look so smooth, so just so flawless with their movement and their abilities to create shots.
Yeah, this is with the Pelicans that I would have liked to see throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
You know, this is what you really expect from them. I wish they, had played better down the stretch, letting the Jazz come back, but the Jazz are the best team in the league for a reason.
Yeah.
So you got to give the that credit to them. But in terms of Pelicans, yeah, I mean, they had everything going for them leading up until that point. Yeah. And they've been playing. You see certain spurts in where, they play great, and then sometimes they just collapse or fall apart, or they don't play well. But this game last night shows what the potential that they have as a team, as a unit.
Yeah.
And if we can see more of that, they can push for that playing game. They can get to the playing games.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, good win by this Pelicans team, upsetting the record best Utah Jazz. All right. Down to the later game of the night, featuring the Hornets up against the Blazers, LaMelo and Melo. And this was a really fun game to watch. The Hornets got out early. LaMelo Ball played really great. Terry Rozier as well. No Gordon Hayward once again, so they needed to keep that scoring load up for them. As for the Blazers, they got out a lot of 3-point shots early. We'll get to those 3-point shots in a minute. But yet this was still a competitive back and forth game between both. And then the third quarter, as we say a lot, the third quarter, a change happened and the Blazers just started shooting like crazy.
Yep.
And on a big run led by Robert Covington had a great game. Melo had a great game. Carmelo Anthony had a great game. His season high, I believe, 29 on the night. Damian Lillard, 23 and 10. And as a result, they rode that wave from the third quarter all the way to the end. No matter what the Hornets can do, they couldn't get back to the game. As a result, the Blazers beat the Hornets and breaking their franchise record of 3-pointers made.
Yeah. Yeah, you said it. You said it best right there. Again, that second half, it was, well, let me say the last parts of the third quarter and the rest of the fourth quarter was just all Blazers, and specifically the real Melo, Carmelo Anthony, the OG. He was a big, well, along with the fact of other Blazers, because surprisingly the Blazers were doing something that even though they got better in this aspect, we never expected to talk about, and that's their defense. Their defense led to offense, and their abilities to shoot the three was just amazing with the way that they were moving around in the perimeter. Melo was the main ignition for all of this. Don't get me wrong, just like what you said, Covington had a good game. Lillard is going to do what he does and everything, but Melo was the main ignition to reason why they was able to go away with this game, with his ability to just shot make.
Yeah, I mean, Carmelo Anthony, he really had it going. And you know, Melo, when he's hot, it's really hard to stop him.
Exactly.
So yeah, great game from the Blazers perspective, and they get a big win against the Hornets.
Yep.
All right, there's a few other games happening around the association besides those two. So anything that you like go over first? Anything that you like to talk about?
Yeah, the Mavericks versus the Magic. This was a good back and forth in the beginning. Like, the Magic had a good lead for a specific period of time, and then the next thing, the Mavericks was just able to go on a good run in which they had the lead from majority of that, that second quarter and parts of that second half. And then you start to see the Magic, they start to get their stride a little bit coming down the stretch, and it looked like the Mavericks was going to do what we seen them do before, and that was they was about to cough up a game in a way. They was really about to give the Magic an opportunity. Oh, you saw Vucevic, he started hitting big shots. He's the star of the team. I'm not gonna go in and say
All-star.
Yeah,
All-star.
Let me just say all-star.
Give it respect. Give it respect.
Yeah,
All-star.
All-star. He hit some big shots coming down the stretch. Fournier had a really good game. Ross hit some big shots, and the Magic had an opportunity, but Luka being Luka, playing at his own pace and everything, he wasn't going to let that happen, and the Mavericks was able to ride that wave and get the win.
Yep, a good win by this Mavericks team, and I'm gonna say it again in terms of the Magic perspective. I really feel like Terrence Ross should get some consideration for Sixth Man of the Year. He plays really well for the Magic coming off the bench.
Yeah,
but nonetheless, like I said, good win by the Mavericks.
Yes. The next game I would like to talk about is the Spurs versus Nets. And this was of course, this was a really entertaining game, by the way. Probably like what would you say, the second best game of the night?
Probably might be the best game of the night.
Yeah.
Depends on how you see it.
Yeah, it was just like it just went down to the wire basically. It's like let me just focus specifically on that fourth quarter. The Spurs were down by I believe 10 or 11 points. And thanks to DeMar, Patty, and who else?
J- Jajante.
DeJounte Murray. Thank you. I nearly forgot his name. DJ. The, the Spurs were able to make a big comeback in which it ended up seeing Murray hit a big buzzer beater shot after nearly losing the ball. He nearly lost the ball, falling to the ground, got it. It had hit it right at the top of the key, right inside the 3-point line, and the Spurs saw themselves going into overtime. But yet, despite all of
after
this,
Kyrie's missed layup. By the way, that set up Dejounte Murray's game tire buzzer beater.
But yeah, after Kyrie's missed layup, DeJounte Murray hits that shot. They go into overtime, but the Nets are the Nets, and when they get it going, and that whole overtime period was just all of them. Harden had a really good game, and despite the fact that he did miss the potential game daggering layup, Kyrie had a really good game, and the Nets were just flowing in the overtime period. But yet, let's give some respect. DeMar DeRozan was balling throughout this whole game also. So, but yet just wasn't enough. Good fight by the Spurs, but just good win by the Nets.
Yep, and not only does DeRozan, but really everybody on the Spurs is really having a good night. Trying their best to keep up with the Nets' high-powered offense.
Yeah.
So I gotta give them props for that. But yeah, James Harden had himself a monster game. The Spurs really tried everything. Popovich tried to double team him at half court. But I mean, James Harden, when he wants to attack and when he wants to be aggressive, you can't really stop him.
Yeah, you can't. No, you cannot.
Yeah. So as a result, good effort by the Spurs. Good competitive game. Great comeback, leading to the overtime. But in the end, it was the Nets prevailing and a great win by them.
Yeah.
All right.
The final game I want to talk about is the Bulls versus the Nuggets, and this was a really good game also in itself. The Nuggets started off the quarter with a huge lead. I believe they had a 21-7 lead to start off, and then the Bulls started to mount their comeback, and basically as the second quarter went through and throughout the third quarter, the Bulls just went on a huge run, which was mainly led by Kobe White and the rest of the Bulls bench. Talk about Thaddeus Young, you know what I mean? All those guys off the bench, along with Kobe White, they proceed to score the remaining points for that whole Bulls team. But then, of course, again, you have the Nuggets who have been in situations like these before and are really experienced. And you basically saw Murray at the center pick. Murray passes off to Jokic. Jokic gets the big Nuggets side, gets fouled and won. And basically, he goes to the line and he goes up. They go up by 109 to 108. And then Murray also hits a big three, and I think he hit two big threes from that point. And basically, after that, the Nuggets just took the momentum from there.
Yeah, and that's really all there is to say about that. Good fight by the Bulls, but the Nuggets really the win, and Jokic with another great performance, leading this Nuggets team, and Murray, who's been playing great basketball in these recent games before the All-Star break. So, yep, good win by this Nuggets team. All right. Before we go on predictions, the news around the league. First, let's start off with I guess we could go over with some retirement news. Former All-Star, former Defensive Player of the Year, and veteran Joakim Noah announced his retirement from the league. Anybody who knows Joakim Noah knows he played for Chicago Bulls. That was his best years, most memorable years. That's when he won the Defensive Player of the Year and was an All-Star. He was a great player for them. He could rebound, could defend, he could run the floor. He was a good passer. And he really helped the Bulls even in the time when D Rose was hurt and they needed some type of he needed some type of energy, needed some type of star power. And he was there, and he was really like the lead catalyst for them in those times.
Yep. Really talented, really good as a big man. Yeah.
Yep. So sad to hear, but it was a great career for Joakim Noah.
Yep.
So I guess congratulations on your retirement.
And you enjoy it.
Yep. All right. From retirement to a firing, the Hawks did announce that Lloyd Pierce, their head coach, they will be firing him due to the poor start or the, how you say,
Inconsistency.
yes, inconsistency and underwhelming
Yeah.
start of the first half of the season for the Hawks. The Hawks were projected to be better this year, especially with the signings they got in the offseason. I know they have been suffering with some injuries. Also, you got to put into like they should have gotten, the players develop more, like Trey Young, John Collins, and it didn't seem like that. At the start of the season, it did, and then it just kind of been on a bumpy roller coaster ride. And then they it was part of the season where they really hit a rough patch where they were really struggling.
Yep.
So I guess that's the reason for the Hawks making this decision. So what do you think about it?
Whatever. Look, as long as this hiring, because I know McMillan was a really good coached the Pacers team and coached them
Oh yeah,
to.
by the way, because I didn't mention that.
Oh,
Nate
all right.
McMillan is rumored or is I think reported to take over the Hawks. Nick McMillan was the Pacers coach from last year and previous years. He's a really good coach, and he led the Pacers to the playoffs for what, 3 consecutive years?
Yeah,
Two
five.
consecutive years?
Yeah, I
Five
believe
consecutive years?
3. Yeah, I think whatever it is to for the progression or the direction of the team to go in a positive trend, then I'm all worth it. Again, Lloyd Peterson, he's probably like a good coach
Pierce.
for help. Lloyd Pierce was probably like, a good coach for helping development and stuff and everything. But sometimes you it's only so long you can develop him for. And now
Why is John Collins still John Collins? Why is it any better? You can't answer that, can you? Exactly.
No.
You should have been taking that next step, I feel like.
Yeah.
And this season I feel like we've seen spurts of him taking the next step, but fully being not fully committed to the next step. Like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah.
What Nate McMillan could do. Let's just say that. Sorry. Yo, I know. I know. I messed that up big time.
Okay, bro, you almost had like a stroke trying to pronounce his name.
Nah, I'm good. I know. Yeah, I fumbled that. I take that. I take
Fumbled. You fumbled, slipping, and tumbled.
that. I'll take that.
That's okay. It's fine, bro. As a result, like we said, Lloyd Pierce fired and Nate McMillan reported to be the new coach for the Atlanta Hawks. All right. With all that out of the way, it is prediction time for tonight's set of games. So let's just jump right into it. First, starting off with the Grizzlies or the Wizards. Who you got?
Grizzlies.
Grizzlies as well. The first primetime game of the doubleheader, TNT 7:30. It is the Clippers, Los Angeles, up against the Celtics of Boston. Who you got?
Clippers.
Clippers as well. The Hawks or the Heat?
Heat.
Heat. The Knicks or the Spurs?
Spurs.
Spurs. The Nuggets or the Bucks?
Bucks.
Bucks. And lastly, the last primetime game of the night features the Phoenix Suns up against the defending champions, getting back on the right track, Los Angeles Lakers.
Suns.
Lakers. All right. I think it's time to wrap things up. Any final thoughts?
Nate McMillan.
Give us some claps, everyone. Give us some claps for him. Yeah, good job.
And Lloyd Pierce.
It's like a baby pronouncing their first name.
Nah, you got that one. Like you got.
All right. With that being said, Nate McMillan in mind. Thank you guys for watching today's pod. Make sure to tune into tomorrow's podcast. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe.
Also follow IG down in the description below.
And once again, I'm Evan.
I'm Ja.
And this is the Mind of Basketball Podcast.